Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm here making a video. Well, actually, not a video. It's an audio video, if that makes any sense. Anyways, I've been holding off on making this video because I wanted to wait until the end of the season to break down what I feel exactly happened at USC. And this is pretty much an extensive video. Now, if you hate long videos, you might as well stop the video now and go somewhere else. But there is no somewhere else because no one ever takes the time to break down this extensively. And I feel that someone somewhere needs to make a video to address the situations at hand. Now, here we go. There's so much stuff I want to talk about. We're gonna break it down periodically. We're gonna start with defense. Defense. When you think of USC defense, one thing comes to mind: atrocious. I won't even let you get a word off. It's atrocious. Now, who's the man running this defense? Pretty much, it's under paper, it says someone else, but everyone knows the one running the defense is Monte Kiffins. Now, here's the problem with the defense that USC runs and Monte Kiffins. Monte Kiffins, in all respects, is a dinosaur. He's an old football guru who can't differentiate that this is not the NFL and this is college. And it doesn't have the same talent level to run such a high, complex defense at the collegiate level. These are kids. These aren't grown men. These are people getting adjusted to the game of college football, freshmen and sophomores. And, you know, there's no comparison to running that defense in NFL as opposed to college football. College football, you might as well, it's not called the Tampa 2 in college football. In college football, it's called the Swiss cheese defense because there's always a hole. There's always a hole somewhere. Some way there's always a hole. Whether it's a gap, whether it's a receiver, whether it's a linebacker or a safety, there's always a hole. Now, I'm very disappointed with the way that Monte Kiffins ran his defense. A lot of people are like, you could only make the play calls and it's up to the kids to run it. That's not true at all. You as a coach, you plan a whole week for the offense that's coming into town or you going to their house. You have a whole entire week to break it down, to put your players in a position to stop that offense. And I just feel every single game this season was a horrible defensive strategy that they ran into. Why? Because he kept running Tampa 2. No adjustments were made. The defense from last year to this year, it's night and day. That's why I got caught up with everything, because I honestly believe USC was the #1 team in the nation because they finished so strong. They beat Oregon. The defense looked really good because it was ran by freshmen and sophomores. And I was like, you know what? These kids are young and they're going to be even better next year. But it looks like they took a humongous step backwards, if not 2 steps backwards, with this showing that they put this season. Really bad. Especially the linebacker core with Hayes Pillard and, Deion Bailey. Deion Bailey showed up, and Hayes Pillard nowhere near the season he had last year. Now, I think that, okay, I'm going to wave from that. But no, back to Monte Kiffins. The defense looked atrocious. He never made adjustments at halftime. He almost looked like he was at a loss of words and just didn't know what to do. And he threw the clipboard in the trash and was like, fuck it, I'm going to wing it. That's how bad the defense looked every single game this season. Really bad. With that being said, Monte Kiffins, great defensive guru in the NFL. As far as college football, your time is up, buddy. I love you to death, but sometimes you got to know when to walk away, and I think that time is now. And I think everyone in college football and around the nation, and even his own son Lane, knows it's time to walk away. Now, let's talk about the offensive side. We're going to talk about Lane Kiffins. Lane Kiffins is not only the head coach, but he's pretty much the offensive coordinator as well. So with the offensive coordinator, you're going to call the offensive plays. His play calling this entire season was absolute shit as well. And it was crap because the offense became so predictable that it was easy to game plan of how to beat USC. It was really, really easy. All you have to do is double team Marcus Lee and hope that Robert Woods could catch a ball if and when he's open, because they're going to cover him as well. But instead of, running play actions, screen passes, the dump off to the running back more often to bring that defensive in, then hit him with the over the top, what does Lane Kiffin do? He forces the issue. He leans back, play action, shotgun. Everything was a fucking pass. Everything was forcing and trying to get Matt Barkley's numbers up for his Heisman candidacy. I don't care what anybody says. This year was ruined by trying to get Matt Barkley the Heisman Trophy. A lot of people that are USC fans hate it when I say it, but it's absolutely true if you tuned into every game. They forced the issue by letting him throw the ball in situations that he didn't need to throw it. So, with that being said, Silas Red, Curtis McNeil, hats off to those guys, because when they touched the ball, they made the most of it, and they had a somewhat balanced attack. And even when if you really watch the games, if you saw the games throughout the year, you will know what I'm talking about. If you didn't see almost every game this year, you won't know what I'm talking about. When the offense was running the ball effectively, even then, they went away from the running game. At some point, the running game picked up 3 first downs in a row, and I'm not talking about any particular game. I'm talking about in general. They would pick up 3 first downs in a row and then decide to pass the next 3 plays, and then it was a 3 and out. So that alone, it just makes no sense to me. You have to go with what's working, and they just didn't go with what's working. They tried to just force the issue with Matt Barkley. Now, with that being said, Lane Kiffin is a horrible play caller. He is absolutely bad. Really bad. Especially when you have that amount of weapons on offense and you don't know how to use them appropriately and how to balance out an attack. Take away Silas Red. He wasn't there last season. But you find a way, okay, how can I incorporate him? But let's focus on the fundamentals. The fundamental is you have a good, solid quarterback, Matt Barkley, senior experience, and you have 2 receivers with great experience now, sophomore and junior, and you're going to find a way to incorporate them into the game. You don't just force the issue. Now, let's talk about individuality. Let's talk about something that I feel, and I'm going to speculate on this. I feel that there's a lot of egos on the USC team. If you really notice, and I'm not saying anything bad, I'm just making observations, and of course this is from the outside looking in, and I may be wrong. That's why it's an opinion and not a fact. But from my observations, from seeing a couple, just in general, Marcus Lee, compared this year to last year, his whole attitude completely changed. Last year he was so focused that he almost never dropped a pass. He only dropped 1 pass last year, if I'm not mistaken. This year, he had a lot of drop passes and a couple for touchdowns. And he was always begging, and never, even when the ball was underthrown, he still wouldn't play defense on the guy in front of him to prevent an interception. He was almost like, his attitude was like, oh, you know what, you need to hit me on the hands. If you don't hit me on the hands, it's your fault, type of thing. Robert Woods, that poor guy, became Mr. Irrelevant this year. It was all about Marcus Lee. That's why the interceptions went up for Matt Barkley, and that's where Robert Woods looked pissed off all the time he caught the ball, because he didn't get the ball at all. It was all about Marquise, I'm sorry. That alone just says a lot. It says that instead of working as a unit, you're working as individuals, and this team had absolutely no discipline whatsoever. No discipline. Second most penalized team in the nation. When the fuck has USC been in that category up until this year? Undisciplined players. I may be wrong on that fact, but it's been a while since I've seen an undisciplined USC Trojan team. And it's horrendous. And Matt Barkley is just a victim of Lane Kiffin's play calling. He could check off plays as well, but you trust what your coach is telling you. And him too, his decision making was in the absolute shitters this year as well, because he didn't have to make half of those interception throws, forcing it. Back to what I was saying before. Now, what happened? Where did the wheels on the bus fall off? I feel that this year was a seesaw year. One day they looked okay, one day they looked great, one day they looked like absolute shit. And I remember thinking that halfway through the season, how the hell was USC ranked #1 in the nation? You know, it was just bad all around. And I don't want to speak bad about, Lane Kiffin, because he was doing a great job up until the start of this season. And I think this season truly showed his true colors of what he could do as a head coach. A lot of people were like, don't pull the trigger so quick. Give him one more year. I don't need to give him one more year. I really don't. They say he's a great recruiter. I don't believe that, because Ed Orgeron is the biggest and best recruiter in the nation. If you guys know that, well, now you know. He may not have that trophy that says otherwise, but Ed Orgeron knows how to recruit. Him and Todd McNair. But Todd McNair is not there. Oh, and FYI, for people that think Todd McNair was screwed over, he definitely was, and he actually won his case against the NCAA. So that's just another addition to this long, atrocious season about the NCAA always smacking USC across the face when it's unnecessary. But of course, they hate USC. So okay, I'll get a little sidetracked. Now, Lane Kiffin as a coach, we've seen what he can and can't do. He can do very little, and he's not cut out to be a head coach. I think he's more maybe a coordinator, but as far as a head coach and running a program, it's pretty much shown that he can't do it. The teams, each and every time when they come out the tunnel, or before the games, they look so flat, like no energy. That Lane Kiffin's face is so monotone that it just doesn't fit the USC tradition. Everybody's like, yeah, we were spoiled by Pete Carroll. Yeah, we kind of were. Yes, we were. You know what? I'm going to be honest. Yes, we were spoiled by Pete Carroll. Why? Because this guy had the right attitude. Attitude dictates a lot. Your players feed off of your attitude. Lane Kiffin just always has that straight, dumb face that it's just like, it's so flat. How are your players going to look at you and then see a flat face? Like, even I'll be like, man, what the hell? It makes no sense. It's just completely 360 of how the program used to be and what it is now. And I just feel he's not a USC coach, man. He's proven it. If you can't win with all these offensive weapons, if you can't game plan correctly of how to attack a defense and how to make halftime adjustments, then you're just not cut out to be a coach. Now, I pretty much spoke in general about the whole season. Now, what I'm going to break down right now really quick, because I know I told you it was going to be a long, extensive video, and I wasn't lying. I barely finished watching the Notre Dame game because I DVR'd it, and it's only a couple hours before the actual game did happen. And I must say, when the game-defining play or drive was in the fourth, when Max Wittick hit that bomb 55-yarder to Marcus Lee, and USC is at the 3 or 5 yard line. Now we're not gonna get into that, where it was pass interference twice in a row, and then you're going up against the #1 goal line defense in the nation, and you want to run the ball just to get stuffed. Oh, I'm sorry. Then you have offsides, of course, because they're undisciplined, and you bring it back more, so you're no longer at the 3 or 2 yard line. You're at the 6 or 5. Then you try to run the ball instead of maybe hit them with the play action, because maybe you missed the Stanford game. You probably missed how that defense just stopped Stanford, and Stanford has an amazing offensive line. And you decide to run the ball, and it looked horrible. And you're like, okay, they stopped me. Okay, I guess their defense is pretty legit at the line. You know what? Let me go with something different. You go with the run again, just to get stopped even further. You're like, okay, you know what? I think it's about time to do something else. Then you do the play action, and Max Wittick underthrows the fullback, and that's pretty much ball game. Now, if that drive, mind you, when they landed or when they got to the 3 yard line, USC had about 5 minutes in that game to just score and have 4 minutes for the defense to miraculously make a stop for them to make a run with 2 timeouts. But what happens? Of course, Lane Kiffin, who I don't know how he got into coaching. I really don't, because even I know you have to clock manage in that situation, because you don't have, guess what? You don't have a good defense. You can't rely on your defense to make a 3 and out. You have to give them time. Instead of managing the clock, he lets the clock run down all the way to 2 minutes when they finally basically turn the ball over. And oh my God, it was a definition of the whole year. Horrible play calling, horrible coaching, and just a horrible game overall. And at that point, you have nothing to lose. Forget it. Why not blitz everybody and hope to get a safety? What happens? Notre Dame busts it up the middle for like a 12-yard run. And at that point, I was just like, you know what? It's time for this guy to go. You know, I don't care about one more year. I don't want to see another one more year, because if I see another one more year of this, I don't know what I'm going to do. And you know what's funny? People will be like, you can't blame the head coach for everything. You really can't. But all you have to do is go across town, and UCLA got Jim Mora, and that guy took basically all the players that Rick Neuheisel had and turned them into a competitive team in 1 season. Not 2 seasons. The same team from last year is the same one he has this year. And look at what he did. So for people that say coaching doesn't really matter, you don't know what you're talking about. This guy came in and had an idea of what to do, and he did a wonderful job. I'm not a person that is going to be like, oh, you know what, fuck UCLA. No, I recognize things for what they are. And that guy is a good coach. And he came in and just proved it. He stuck it to Lane Kiffin in the UCLA USC game. He just out-coached him. I think everybody can out-coach Lane Kiffin, but I'm not going to go that far. Now, that's all pretty much I have to say. I had to get it off my chest. People don't make videos breaking this down, but I know USC Nation has a lot of people, but there's not many YouTube videos that break this down, because all of the videos are like a minute and a half long. So if anyone else agrees with me, you know, write your comments below. I know I'm not the only person that feels disappointed in this season, but I think I'm more disgusted at what I've seen of how the talent was developed, and it was underdeveloped, if anything, given how many recruits they get, 4 or 5-star recruits. You know, look at Mike Riley, Oregon State. You know, look at those universities who get 3-star, 2-star players, and how they put up a fight against Oregon and stay competitive. You know, and that just comes down to coaching, man. And we just don't have a true coach that get the best out of the kids, and we don't have a coach that puts them in a position to succeed. So, you know, let me know what you guys think. Put your comments below, and I hope to hear from you guys soon. And hopefully, next year is a better year. But until then, fight on.